whole new experience when you're telling your story. So overall, this provides a great tool to present the models, and I would say that it's pretty impressive. I hope you like this as well. The question is, how can we get here? So let's take a look at this. How can we achieve this? Well, the thing is, there are a lot of challenges. So before we go into that, let's take a look at the status quo or the situation in the industry. We ran a survey among global stakeholders in the AEC industry and got some responses. And one of those was that the complexity of the project, the design complexity, is growing. That was one, but the other one, which might be a little bit more important, is that many companies are now adopting multidisciplinary design, enlarging their portfolio to stay ahead of the curve. But the thing is that in many aspects, this is just embraced on a conceptual level. When it comes to the actual implementation, it's not really there yet. Another challenge that we're facing is the fragmented workflows. So regardless of the BIM tool that we're talking about, it's usually there is some modeling, for example, but then all the additional works, which include the visualization, the layout design, or a composition, or compiling the drawings into a final deliverable, or photo editing, they're all based on static formats. And even when we have the deliverables, the biggest issue remains, like, what happens if we want to change our design and then we have to do all the rework manually? So this is what we're mostly facing nowadays. And to come over these challenges, our direction, what we're having with Graphisoft, is one, to create exceptional software, but also to complement it with services and benefits that are available either through Graphisoft or our global network. So I'll talk about three solutions from Graphisoft today. The first, our flagship product, Graphisoft Archicad, which allows you to create your project, design your project, create a model, have the 2D documentation, quantity takeoffs, and many more. We have 4 pillars that I'm going to touch on: the design, document, visualization, and collaboration. BIM Cloud acts as a collaboration hub. So this is what is gluing together the application and providing a real-time teamwork collaboration on the project. And also the third one that you've already seen, BIMX, which is bridging the gap between the design studio, the client's office, and even the construction site, being a powerful presentation tool and evolving also into a collaboration tool. So let's take a look at these from a workflow point of view, phase by phase, and how the solutions can be used. The backbone of the process, since we're talking about design, should be Archicad. In the conceptual stage, we can import a lot of content, existing content, surveyors information, sketches, site plans, location plans, all in various formats. During the design, the early design phase, if we want, we can even connect to real-time, with real-time connections to algorithmic design tools. For example, Rhino Grasshopper, we have a live connection with the tool, which allows us to create parametric, generative algorithmic design and right away transform it into native BIM elements as well. Going further, we would like to sell the idea. We would like to visualize the project in the conceptual phase. So again, we can use our live connections to many of the most popular visualization tools like Enscape, D5, Twinmotion, and Lumia as well. And at the end of the process, we can just present our project as you've seen with BIMX. So let's take a look at the design part and see how Archicad can work in this one. Let's just take a very quick example. What I mentioned previously is that we're taking the sketches, the ideas into our software. Basically, we just want to start from the very beginning. We bring in these drawings, we use this as a reference. We can bring in the existing content. Let's say the terrain right away with just one click, it's getting generated. so I don't have to deal with creating a terrain on its own. Then I can start doing some massing and creating sketches within the tool. It's a huge benefit to use BIM right away in this early process because we're not just talking about the shapes, but eventually we can create quantity takeoffs and we can create schedules. For example, check if we're going to comply with the programming of the project. So here you can see that we are quickly creating a schedule, and right away we're going to see the area summaries. And also, let's say at the end of this process, to finish up the conceptual phase, we can just create some of the design options and present it to the client. So this is just a very quick massing model, but we're moving fast forward. And let's say now we're in a little bit more detailed phase. Our model has evolved. So this is where we can make use of all those built-in objects and libraries that we provide with ArchiCAD. So it comes with thousands of built-in elements, very easy to use, very intuitive interface, a visual interface, very easy to change the parameters, to change the mood, to change the style of all these objects. The thing is that we faced this many times in the past, when we can still run into some issues, is the manufacturer's content. So when we would like to use an actual product. In the old days, we were able to import content in the traditional formats, 3ds Max, SketchUp, or Rhino models, but they were always converted to native ArchiCAD objects, or they were converted through the IFC format. The thing is that there is a recent addition to all these options, Revit import and export. So this is also covering one of the biggest segments. If you have existing objects that you can reuse them in ArchiCAD without the conversion needs, and also to tackle the 2D and 3D representation issues as well, and a potential missing information in the product. Let's move on to the next pillar, documentation. So the deliverables are still largely 2D based, right? So the drawings are representing the building, and they are demanded to be more accurate, expressive, and coordinated. So we aim to bridge this gap between the design and the documentation. So let's just take a quick example, which you typically do in a photo editing tool, for example. With a very few clicks, I can just bring this section or elevation into life by adding textures to it, for example. Or like you can see that even like the reflection of the clouds is a very artistic representation. Just one click, I could give it to the image. Same way I can add the sun shadows to it. Or another interesting representation to give a sense of depth to my drawing and make a difference between the foreground and the background. Or just use more of a technical representation. Another example could be talking through the design idea with the client, using textures as fills, for example. So very easily I can use existing images as polygonal fills without changing the model, but just presenting these different cladding options with the different materials, for example, or like adding a background image right away in the BIM tool without the need of additional exports and changing all these small things in additional tools. Moving on to the next one, visualization. Obviously drawings are important, but visualization is maybe even more crucial to impress the clients and to sell the idea, right? So we have a lot of built-in visualization options. These are easy to use. We can use presets for those who are not rendering specialists. But the trend nowadays is the use of real-time renderers, and we have one of the latest additions here on this front is the direct connection to Enscape, and this also allows you to create high-quality visuals without stopping with your design with the BIM tool. So a great promotion here, actually what we have between Graphisoft and Enscape, is that if you're a Graphisoft user, then you can have Enscape for free for the first year as well. So I think it's a really great opportunity to get started with these very impressive live visuals as well. But actually, long story short, it doesn't matter which tool to use. So it was mentioned by Detlef as well that we're open. So there are either live connections to the mostly used, most important, and most popular tools, or we have the base standard native import and export functionalities to these tools as well. And what you've already seen, maybe last but definitely not least, don't forget about BIMX, because that's also a part of the visualization, and this really helps to present and visualize these 3D along the 2D documentation. The good thing is that it's available on multiple platforms. So firstly on mobile, iOS and Android, but also has a desktop version both for Mac and Windows, and a browser-based version as well. Let's fast forward and move to the next phase. Let's see what happens from the schematic design and the design development phases. So during the schematic design, we're going to start working with other teams. First, it is going to be our team internally, but then there are also going to be external teams whose work we can import into our project and create a baseline architecture that we're going to share with other disciplines. During this process, we will have to do quality checks, quality assurance, because we're going to share the work with others. One solution that you've already seen, or it was mentioned, Solibri, our quality assurance tool in the Nemetschek group. We have a live connection to this tool. Once we're ready to share our design, then we will use the OpenBIM methods primarily. So that means the open format of IFC and sending 2D documentation in the standard PDF or DWG format for all the different engineering disciplines, MEP or structural design. As a new approach, we have the integrated design solutions, which is also using another open format, the SAF format, which allows us to directly connect to structural analytical applications, and with the SAF format, directly receive updates in our model without the need of round-trip exports with other formats. In the design development phase, we're going to receive models from these disciplines, and there's going to be an iterative process that is starting where we can start to collaborate and coordinate our models back and forth with the other disciplines. So at this stage, as you see, the main focus is on collaboration. So what do we have in terms of collaboration? Well, especially with the big scale projects, there's a close collaboration needed between many parties, and definitely this has challenges. Even in a smaller team, you would have challenges. How to set up a collaboration platform? Well, the good thing is that we have BIM Cloud, which is giving you a no investment option, and no upfront hardware investment option, because it's a subscription based. Basically, your users and the platform are ready in 15 minutes, and you can get started with the collaboration. There are a lot of teams in this process. They are all working from different locations. They need conflict-free work environment. They need to have internal communication. Everyone has different skill sets, so that means that we need different permissions and access rights throughout the project. And we would also like to keep our data safe as well, obviously. So let's see how BIM Cloud works. Let's take, for example, the project that you've seen before. We take the offline version of it, we can share it on BIM Cloud, and then it is available for teamwork. We can just open this teamwork collab, which shows who are the ones that are actually working on the project. And if we start browsing around different types of elements, we can see also who owns which element to avoid the conflicts. Obviously, browsing through these different elements one by one is not really efficient. So we can just highlight all the workspaces of the different users. And if, let's say, I would like to work on an element that belongs to someone, I can send a message. I can use these messages for generic communication, these requests, to grant the request the same way, to generate tasks or create tasks for other users, or ask for reviews, for example. So basically you've seen that there are many different levels of collaboration, or different types of collaboration, and these are the ones that we're supporting with our solutions. The first one is when the design teams can tightly collaborate in real time. So this is our teamwork solution, BIM Cloud, in a single discipline. But there, as I mentioned, multidisciplinary teams are coming on board, and they can natively work in our solution, create architecture, MEP, and structure as well, or with the direct connections, they can have the streamlined interfaces to their favorite applications. And there's a third option, right? When we can rely on the open standards, the open BIM, which we constantly maintain and improve to ensure this democratized flow of data. So we usually have this question then. We have integrated this